today's essay and wanted to try something a little bit lighter after spending too much time with murderous groups in Sudan who prey on the most desperate people. Talking and reading and thinking a lot about Venezuela, a country that so many of us love and miss, and my very real concern that they will be exploited by the Trump administration and by Donald J. Trump specifically, because he is, people frequently use the term that he's transactional, like he's a businessman. So he does things are in business interest and he's a business genius. Yeah, I mean, he's an expert at availing himself of the Chapter 11 protections 6 times or whatever it is. But he's run plenty of businesses into the ground. So I'll leave the genius thing to maybe to Warren Buffett or somebody like that, because that ain't him. But a lighter subject, trying to look for some hope. I was researching today an article I had put aside from a couple days ago when we were discussing the less delightful subject of conflict gold and the human rights violations that are a daily adventure at the hands of the militia groups. And what I came up with was, well, first of all, that of the 10 most recent ICC, International Criminal Court, charges, that fully half of the top 10, as it were, like the photos that used to hang in the post office in my youth, the FBI most wanted. So we have here the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which, as you probably know, is an organization that is supported by its member nations, and it isn't beholden to any one particular nation. Although, larger nations, as with everything in life, the big guys with more money can exert more influence. But the ICC is interesting in that way too, that some of the countries that are not either signatories or have not ratified the agreement, meaning they don't participate and they won't enforce judgments. And they are, you will perhaps not be surprised to learn that they are China, India, United States, Russia, and, for instance, Israel, which had been moving towards membership, hadn't ratified, but subsequently said that no thanks, we're tapping out. No. The gentleman, perhaps the most famous contemporary conviction and sentencing, or excuse me, at least conviction, was two of the gentlemen in the former Slovakia that, excuse me, that is not true. Slobodan Milosevic, right? he actually ended up dying in The Hague in custody, awaiting the completion of his trial. So he was not officially sentenced at the time that he passed. He was a very bad guy. That was the former Yugoslavia, right? So that was Serbia with Slobodan Milosevic, but then particular atrocities that were committed in Srebrenica, where there was ethnic cleansing against Muslim minorities, and that was, Serbia, but sub Bosnia Herzegovina, right? And that's going back some to 25 plus years, some an extended period of time. But those were some of the successes of the ICC. As I suggested, when some of the larger countries in the universe refuse to sign on, then you have some problem with enforcement mechanisms become more difficult. We're seeing a different version of that same challenge with, I would argue, with Donald J. Trump, because as he eliminates the quote unquote, the administrative or legal quote unquote cop on the beat, for instance, the JAG officers, judge advocate generals in the Defense Department, and many of the other functions and many of the too many agencies in the U.S. government that are supposed to be enforcement mechanisms. He has destroyed all of that. Part of Project 2025 is to destroy any entity or position or individual that could bring any accountability to DJT or the executive branch. So that's the destruction of the enforcement. I'm working on another piece, which is a non-enforcement mechanism, but that'll be later on in the week. But for today, just the ICC, the high-profile individuals that are currently charged under the authority of the ICC are a couple good friends of yours, Vladimir Putin, my impossibly long essay about Putin yesterday. If you didn't, maybe something to help you go to sleep tonight with the subtly, the gentle dulcet tones of my voice, which have only been enhanced by radiation treatment early part of last year. So I'm going back. I'm not giving up on my being the fourth tenor. Well, some of them have died, haven't they? No. Placido Domingo and Pavarotti and Dude. There were three tenors. I'll never be one of them. I could never sing before that. But some might even jokingly suggest that my voice improved with radiation, but I wouldn't suggest it as a voice training mechanism or as a diet program. Although you do lose a few pounds. Yeah. So your boys, Vladimir Putin and Bibi Netanyahu, are both charged by the ICC for war crimes of one sort of another. There are other people. There are, 5 from Sudan, and I won't run through the names because I would be unsuccessful doing it by memory, and it's information that's readily available in greater detail with better pronunciation than I could do. Uh, Credit to these gentlemen's names. Um, One from Uganda, one still from Democratic Republic of Congo. But the vast majority of the people that are currently charged under the ICC are from Sudan, and the atrocities that have gone on there, and many of them related in some way or another to the conflict gold uh, story that I ran yesterday. So if you missed that and you're thinking you'd like an uplifting story about uh, murder, about rape as a weapon of war in Africa, about the involvement of Russia in the personages of the Wagner Group, who are they're actually Wagner's going through a rebranding right now to try to put forth a kinder and happier um, uh, brand realignment, because Wagner was so many war crimes. Maybe it's harder to get work if you're out there on the market trying to sell mercenary services. You are an effective killer, but if you've committed too many war crimes, maybe the whole ROI calculation when McKinsey is recommending a new mercenary group for a particular Middle East potentate, maybe Wagner falls out of favor because they've done too much burning, looting, and raping. So they're rebranding. So if you're in the market for a vicious mercenary group, then watch this space, and we'll I'm sure cover the Wagner Group in some detail once they come out with their full rebranding. I just wanted to focus a little bit on our two main characters, Bibi and Voda, right? So you got plenty of Putin yesterday, which is still it's in my feed here on Substack, and the trick about the enforcement mechanism is that you have to have the individuals in a country that is a signatory on the ICC agreements. So just charging them, you don't charge Putin, and then everybody at home just says, "Oh, we're going to send Vladimir to you so he can go to the Hague and be tried." You have to capture them, and the ICC doesn't have its own law enforcement mechanism. Excuse me. So you're relying on member countries to do that on your behalf, to enforce the judgment, so to speak. So we, Vladimir was in Alaska, former Russia, former and perhaps future Russian territory. But of course, visiting with DJT as he was kissing his controller's ass, rolling out the red carpet, and doing all those distasteful things that sort of reminded you of the behavior of the tech bros towards DJT. DJT exhibited the same sort of embarrassing and reprehensible behavior towards Putin in Alaska. It's natural when you think about it. I mean, it was in our country. Why should American troops be bowing down to a Russian oligarch? Well, because of course, Vladimir Putin exerts a a disproportionate amount of influence on DJT. In fact, Putin is, along with Xi, is one of the two people that Trump is deathly afraid of, because they are, those two guys are stone killers. And and as tough as Trump is with Delta Force on the speed dial, he's not a tough guy. He's a spoiled rich kid who has lived in the lap of luxury for his entire life, has a butler to help him put his, the makeup on the hand bruises and the wraps on the cankles. And he never, he hasn't never done for himself. So he's not uh, he talks like a tough guy from Queens, but it's an act. Trump's whole vibe, his whole, method of operation is kind of it's a sham. It's a grift. It's a scam. It's The Apprentice, without the advantage of Mark Burnett. A better producer, better director. It's just the idiots at 1600 Penn. So for Voda, he would have to slip up. Now he's a trained. He knows that if he just like, hey, I need some really good bread and I want a glass of wine, I'm going to just drop in to Paris for the weekend and hang out, pick a I don't know where the Russian emigres used to live in Paris in the old days. Which arrondissement was that? I'm just trying to come up with a number and I'm blanking, so we'll let that fall by the wayside. Pretend like I'm editing that, which I'm not, clearly. But he can't do that because France and many other countries could do the work for the ICC, and hold him in custody pending trial in The Hague, and he'd fight the extradition and all of the legal things that you know about. But that's one way that would happen. I mean, he could just fly to The Hague and surrender, but probably a little less likely. And so Vladimir Putin is to turn this year, he would be turning 74, 52, 74. Yeah. So in that range. So that ain't going to happen. Bibi, on the other hand, there was a lot of recent discussion in the news because what would happen, the U.S. is not a signatory on the in the ICC themselves, but there were some questions from New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani in leading up to the provocative questions by the handsy former governor. Yeah, that guy. Cuomo, excuse me. His father, was a, you could argue, a transcendent and very important figure in politics in New York, Mario. But a more ethically intact individual than his elder son. I think it's elder because there's the younger one was a CNN guy for a while. I don't know what he's doing. Not my business. Done with Cuomo's for life. But there were questions put to Zoran that, hey, can Bibi visit the UN? would you guarantee Bibi safe passage in spite of the ICC uh, uh, verdict, right? And he was, I think he said no, which made, Zoran didn't need to make himself less popular with the New York Jewish, much of the New York Jewish um, population, especially the older part of that. But, he got the vote of a lot of younger, more progressive uh, uh, Jews in New York, which was encouraging. And there are, whining heretics like professors and Bill Ackman and other people like that, like that he's the Antichrist, and a raging anti-Semite because of some disturbing comments he made earlier in his life that he has since walked back. And Andy's 34 or 5 years old, so give him a little time to grow up and evolve. He wasn't well. In any case, this is not the Zoran Mamdani hour. Right? So you could snag Bibi in any one of a number of places. Bibi's not going for weekends in European capitals, or at least not openly, because he is at risk of being apprehended. And so what made me smile and delight was bringing together a couple of the most annoying themes of a very, very troubling and annoying first year of Donald J. Trump's 2.0 was his obsession with the Nobel Peace Prize. And that came back again in the last few days with the suggestion, whether that was legitimate or not, that perhaps if Maria Conchita Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner from Venezuela, who was the politician that had to go into exile ahead of the last elections, and her stand-in candidate, who was a known party, ended up winning convincingly in the elections. And then she was um, she was snuck out with the help of some special forces type guys to receive the award in Oslo. Yeah. So and then the word this week was that DJT, stop if you heard this before, has a grievance against her. She acknowledged him, thanked him, said that Venezuela loves him and needs his help, and said, I share this award with you. And I guess what the grievance racked broken human wanted was for her to renounce the prize only if Donald Trump could take the prize and get the Nobel committee to approve it. I don't know, trying to get inside Donald Trump's brain it's a frightening place. It's a dangerous place. So yeah, so that came back up just in the last few days. Like he dissed her very hard and said that she's not capable, that the Venezuelan people don't want her as a leader. And whether that's true or not, I'm not certain. But to say that on the news while things are as fractious as they are right now, with Miss Rodriguez in, and a lot of the very dangerous Chavista crew that supported Nicolas Maduro are still in place. Interior minister and the intelligence chief, and then a whole bunch of generals. They got more generals in Venezuela than you could possibly imagine. So that's why would he throw her under the bus publicly when she will be a player to some extent in the future of the country, whether it will be in an advisory role or of counsel, in a supportive role. We don't know yet, but why he would, technical term, why he would, shit can her before she has, before things settle out a little bit. That's because he's a selfish man that is overcome by grievances and can't get out of his own way and give grace to any other human being. So what I was thinking was this. Here's my plan, and I'd love it if you poked holes in it, send me a note and told me what you're wrong. This will never work. And it's a secret. So don't tell anybody. But we'll get Norway is a signatory as a ICC member. The Nobel Peace Prize is handed out in Oslo, which not coincidentally is the capital of Norway. The ICC often issues or prepares sealed indictments. What if, which you know is going to happen, Donald Trump will be guilty of something, a crime against humanity? The Apprentice should be a crime against humanity, but seriously, he'll do something, or we'll find out something about the Venezuelan operation, or about the murder of innocents in boats in the Caribbean, because this invasion that he orchestrated this past weekend does not gloss over all that came before it, going back to September, when the double tap happened and the two men that were hanging onto the boat were blown out of the water. And that could be argued to be at the direction of the commander in chief. So we work with our beautiful people, Norwegian wood. The title of this essay is "You're Bringing the Wood," right? Like you're going to beat somebody's ass, right? There's a sexual connotation to it, but we're not playing that with anywhere in the neighborhood of DJT, of course, because that's just gross. But so we get the Nobel Committee, right, to say, "Sir, we were wrong. You all along, you have been the ideal candidate. In fact, sir, you are exactly the sort of human being, the sort of man that we in the Nobel Committee, when it was founded so many years ago, if you are a poster child for the Nobel Peace Prize, think of all the conflicts you're responsible for solving, sir, Mr. President. You're the balls. You're the best, Donald. You're magnificent. Please, 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 sir, we beseech you, come to Oslo next year and allow us to roll out the red carpet for you, sir, as the legitimate, if long overlooked, recipient of this august honor, the Nobel Peace Prize." And if there's anybody whose ego gets the better of them and will, even more so by that point, have a level, that sense of impunity that he can do whatever he wants because of the whole king thing and and all of that bullshit. The sovereign stuff, he'll think sovereign immunity, but I'm going to say that if we get that indictment for a verifiable war crime, at least let's get him to the Hague and work it out. You know, so he shows up. Hey, where's my prize? Hey, what are these guys in uniform on my left doing? Hey, where's my TikTok video with Nicolas Maduro dancing? Hey, wait, you're serious? You're arresting me? On what charges? On what charges? Well, sir, we have a sealed indictment right here from the ICC. And, and we built a suite for you, Bibi, and Vladimir, your friend Vladimir, so you can all spend some time together. What do you think? Will you be our guest? We would be delighted to have you. Whether or not you would be delighted is at this point, sir, immaterial. So, if you would, sir, we're going to blindfold you, put headphones on you so you can listen to a famous TikTok influencer singing the Venezuelan national anthem. And, sir, we will be escorting you to The Hague. And thank you very much for your service. Eh, just an idea, but it's our secret, our little secret. We're not letting it out. We're going to keep that in a lockbox. But if that could happen, I would go to Norway and beg. That's just. In any case, I'll leave you with that. So when you're going to sleep tonight, improbable. You may argue with me, impractical. You may argue on another level because you're an international law expert of some sort, that it is legally impermissible to even dream of such things, because that would be contrary to, I don't know, rule of law. But that doesn't apply any longer because Donald Trump has pissed all over it. So we can dream, can we not? It's like, we can dream. How about Michelle Obama as president? We can dream, right? She wouldn't do it, but we can dream. Pleasure as always. And if you want to make a donation, make it to the International Criminal Court, care of The Hague. Don't know the zip code or postal code, whatever they call it in there. Yeah. So I appreciate your attention. Restack and like and things like that. Comment back to me why it's the best or most ridiculous effing idea you've ever heard in your entire life. And we'll do something tomorrow to thank you for your time, and a good afternoon or good evening. Thank you.